In this screencast, we're going to look at using GeoGebra to create a quick graph of an exponential function. What I'd like to produce is going to look roughly like this. I want to show where the y-intercept is, and also I want to show one particular point on the exponential curve. Now, this template starts life with a cubic function. When we export the image, only what's inside the white window will be exported. These bits around the outside, these are there to make our life easier. If these are not inside the white area, you won't see them in the final image. Now, what I'm going to do to start with is I need to tell GeoGebra what the function is. So if I double click on the function, I can turn this cubic into the graph I want, which is 80 e to the 0.27x. So if I press OK, well, initially it looks like my function's disappeared, but that's because this graph is quite a long way off the top of the screen. Now, we could use the zoom out tool to go and find it, but actually I'm going to tell GeoGebra which part of the graph I want. So if I go to graphics, and I'm going to find it very roughly, well, the x values look okay for me, but instead, essentially, I want to go much higher on the graph, so I'm going to change the y maximum to be about 400. And hopefully we can now see our curve. Now, it doesn't look perfect. The first thing I think I need to do is that particular point I want. I'm going to plot that on the graph so I can make sure that it is in the final image. So what I want is I want the point with the x-coordinate 5 and the y-coordinate being whatever the number 5 substitution to my function is. So you'll see here, this is our point in question. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use the scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom out to the point where we've got this in view, or you could use the zoom in and out buttons here. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more. Now, this is looking okay, but I'm not 100% happy with it. What I think I'd like to do is, since I'm not interested in negative values of y, is to move my window up a little bit. And now I can come in. Now these things have moved inside the graph, so I'm just going to move those out of the way because I don't want those in my final image. This is looking pretty good to me. We need to label where it crosses the y-axis, so I'm going to take this label. We could copy and paste it if we want, but I only need one, so I'm going to turn the 42 into an 80. So we've got where it crosses the y-axis, and all I need to do now is to label the coordinates of the particular point I'm interested in. So to put a label for this, we're going to use the text tool. If we click on the text tool and click on the background, I can say that I want the coordinates. Now, you could just type this in, but actually GeoGebra already knows the coordinates. The point we made was the point A, so on the objects box I'm clicking on the point A, and you'll see here that it's calculated the coordinates. Now if I choose that it's a LaTeX formula, we'll typeset it in the same font as the rest of my diagram, so it will look consistent. Initially the font's quite big, and especially on a smartphone screen that's going to be really quite large, so I'm going to right click it, go to Object Properties, and then on the text window I'm going to say that rather than being small, it's actually very small. And if we close this, the text size should be identical, and this will look very small, looks pretty good on a smartphone screen. So we've got my y-intercept, we've got my particular point. Only last thing I think I need to do to this graph is that I want it in terms of t rather than x. So I'm going to double click on the label for the x-axis and turn that x into a t. Okay. So when I export it, only what we see in the white window will be exported. These parts here won't be exported, but I don't want the red cross, and I also don't want the red border. And so if I tick this box here, it will take all those red bits off the screen. But still, when we export, only what is visible will end up being exported. So I'm going to save my file, and then I'm going to go to the export window. I'm going to export it as a picture, and the picture I'm going to export it as is a PNG. Now, whilst we only want it to be 300 pixels wide when it's finally shown on the screen, because smartphone screens have higher resolution than 300 pixels, I do want to export it at a higher resolution, and 1656 as it's calculated will be fine with me. So I'm going to press save, and that will save it to my area ready for upload into my exponential graphs question.